Quick run through of how to properly fill out a contract. You are here because you need to verify yours was filled out correctly, or you're filling out a contract because you had an offer accepted and you just need to run through it. I have taught the contract class many times. You can see the full hour-long class with discussion on recordings.kwmorristown.com. All right, so number one, check the box off that's appropriate. So you are only representing both the seller and the buyer. If it's dual agency, that would only be if the other agent, so if you're the listing agent at KW Morristown, the other agent is at KW Cherry Hill or KW Morristown, or is yourself, you represent both the seller and the buyer. If not, you represent just one party, either the seller or the buyer, so check off the appropriate box. Seller's going to sign here, listing agent needs to sign here, buyer signs here, buyer's agent signs here. Many people confuse selling broker with buyer broker, with listing. Selling, people see selling and they think that means listing. It does not. Selling broker, selling agent means buyer's agent. Sign there. Whoever prepared the contract, you need to type the name in there. This can be done in DocuSign or print it out and done by pen, whatever's faster for you. So now you're going to put your client's information here. So fill this out accurately. Buyer's names, seller's names. You need the buyer home address and the seller home address. Okay, so buyer home address here, seller home address here. Don't leave this stuff blank. Ask the other agent, ask your client, get the information on here. The title company, the lender are going to be referencing that on the contract. It's very important that it's on here and accurate. Do it right from the start. This is the property that is being sold, that your people are buying or that your people are selling, depending on who you represent. So property address, so their address, city, state and zip code, so it should be New Jersey. I know my PA is on here. I guess in my example, I just decided to do PA on here, but this is the Jersey contract, so your address for your client goes here, shown on the municipal tax map of. If you don't know what the municipality is, you can look in Bright, so you would just find the listing in Bright. Oops, this one for example, so if you scroll down, it'll tell you Pine Hill Borough, that is the municipality. You could also click right here for public records. This is also going to give me the seller's home address, the seller's name, all that stuff, public records, readily available to anybody. So municipality is Pine Hill Borough. So that's what you would put on the contract. You would put, in that case, you would put Pine Hill Borough there. It might be something like, you might have a property that's in Haddon Township, or excuse me, you might have a township that is a property that is 123 Main Street in Westmont. That is shown on the municipal tax map of Haddon Township. So just make sure that you pull that right information from Bright, the county. Obvious, put that on there. Block and lot, again, is in Bright. Don't leave these things blank because you don't know it. Use the tech that we have. So come into Bright, click on the public records button right here, or just scroll down. It's also just right down here. And here's your block and lot. So for this example, the block would be 2405 and the lot is 49. So just copy that, put it on the contract. So block and lot, and then qualifier is only for condos. That will be in public records if it is a condo. Now, a lot of people get this wrong, totally fine. New agents and experienced agents mess this up all the time. So this is how this works. So purchase price is your offer price. If you made an offer for $200,000, that's accepted. That's what you put on the contract here for purchase price, the top line. Next one is initial deposit. That's your escrow. So whatever's being held in escrow, that has nothing to do with the down payment. That's irrelevant. Down payment is mortgage, totally different from the initial deposit that's held in escrow. So purchase price is the offer price that's accepted. Then your initial deposit, meaning your escrow. Additional deposit is almost always blank. Almost always blank. It is almost always zero. If there is an additional deposit, it would be something like, we're going to give you $1,000 escrow up front, and then we'll give you another $9,000 after inspection. Something like that, but extraordinarily rare in New Jersey. Almost always zero. The mortgage is the starting mortgage balance. That should match the pre-approval, or you can do some simple math to figure out what that number for line 47 is, and there's lots of examples down here on how to figure that out. So for our example, $200,000 with 10% down, if we got a pre-approval that said, hey, the buyer's approved for $200,000 with 10% down, or a 90% LTV, something like that. You simply do the purchase price, $200,000 times 0.9, which is $180,000. That's the starting balance of the mortgage. That's what goes on this line. If they're putting 10% down, you could also do 200,000 times 0.1. That's 10%, right? So they're putting $20,000 down. So if we subtract that, minus $20,000, that's going to give us the same amount, $180,000. If they're FHA, this is common. They're FHA, and it's $350,000, and they're putting 3.5% down. You would do what? You would do 350, 1, 2, 3. 350,000 times 0.965, right? Because the beginning mortgage balance is 96.5% because they're putting 3.5% down. So that balance there, right here, mortgage would be 337,750. If that doesn't make sense, you could do the purchase price times 0.035 because they're putting 3.5% down. That is $12,250. So we just subtract $12,250 from the purchase price, giving us our mortgage amount of $337,750 for this line right here. The balance is just simple subtraction. So the balance is just $200,000 minus $5,000 minus the mortgage amount of $180,000 gives us $15,000. All right, so that's the balance of the purchase price. It has nothing to do, their down payment, basically the numbers that we're doing here are purchase price minus the initial deposit minus the mortgage equals what the buyer needs to bring to settlement now if closing costs didn't exist. This is the way that it is done. The way that I just showed you how to do it is the right way to do it. So if you need more help with it, look at these examples down here. There's plenty of examples. All right, plenty of examples here, 250,000. VA, 20% down, different examples here. All right, so initial deposit is almost always payable to the title company, so you want to check that off, and then you can put in right here, you should put the title company name on here. If you represent the buyer and you're going to use your hometown title, write in this blank here, down here. Additional deposit is going to be 0 most of the time. I'm going a little bit too fast even for myself here. Escrow is going to be in the buyer's title company, so if you don't know who the title company is, you can write buyer's title company there. Preferably, if you're the listing agent, you're going to ask the buyer's agent, just shoot them a text, what title company are you using? Hopefully they know. So you're going to check off title company, then you can put the name of the title company there. Maybe it's City Abstract, maybe it's Surety. If you're representing the buyer and you're using your hometown title, you're going to type your hometown title in there. You could also type in buyer's title company. But you put the name of the title company in there and then you move on. So Section D only applies if there is a mortgage. So in this example, we have a 10% down conventional buyer. This number here should match what's on line 47. So we have line 47 is 180, so you don't need to do any math again. You just put the same number here and then you check off whatever type of mortgage it is. The term of mortgage is almost always 30 years on a 30-year payment schedule, unless you know for a fact your buyer's doing like a 15-year mortgage or something like that. Mortgage commitment, you need to put a date here if your settlement is like 30 days, because if you read this, it says that the mortgage commitment must be delivered to the seller's agent no later than, if left blank, 30 calendar days after the attorney review period is completed. Well, if your settlement date is 30 days out and you sign these agreements on a Thursday, attorney review is not going to end until Friday, Monday, Tuesday, next Wednesday, and the commitment would technically be due after you close, so you want to just make this date be about a week before your settlement. If your settlement is two months out or something like that, you can just leave this blank. The 30-day thing is sufficient. I like to put generally a date in here, and I like to make it a date that is like a Friday, so the end of the week, and I want it to be as soon as possible. So within maybe 3 or 4 weeks, we want to see the mortgage commitment as soon as possible, because if we don't get that, we know that there's an issue and we can move on potentially. So mortgage commitment date goes in here. All right, balance of the purchase price. So this is what your settlement is. Your settlement date is in here. That should have been in your offer. Included in sale. So you want to put anything on here. Just read this sentence here. You want to put anything that it would typically be excluded. For example, if this is left blank and excluded is left blank, if you read what this paragraph says, it says that if it's not bolted to the wall, it is not included in the sale. So that means that refrigerator is not included by default. You need to make sure that refrigerator, washer, and dryer are here. So you want to make sure that you put refrigerator, washer, and dryer in here. If they're included, those are the big ones. Anything that's borderline, like a pool table, you want to make sure that that's on the contract, included or excluded. Hot tub, same thing, included or excluded. You don't want to show up to final walkthrough. Your clients really love that pool table and it's gone. But you thought because it's huge and it's sitting there that it should stay. If it wasn't in the contract at all, the pool table can go because it is not bolted to the wall or anything like that. So big things, big ticket items, you want to make sure they're written in included and excluded. Do not write stove, dishwasher in here for included. Don't write stove or dishwasher for included. If the other agent did it, it's okay. You can let it slide. But it is automatically included as a matter of fact. It specifically says that. Gas and electric fixtures, cooking ranges, and ovens. Those things are automatically included already, so don't write it again down here. Sometimes you'll have an issue with the lender if you do that. Now, if for some weird reason the dishwasher was not included with the sale, you'd want to make sure that it is written in excluded. Other common things for excluded might be something like a dining room chandelier or anything really permanently affixed to the wall, maybe custom tool bench or something like that in the garage. Just make sure those big ticket items are accounted for. If there's any confusion, you want to just eliminate it. All right, so certificate of occupancy, just throw $1,500 here. Municipal assessments always should be has not. Verify if you need to, but this should 1,000 times out of 1,001 times, this should be has not, so make sure that's checked off. And then type in whatever type of home it is here. So you type in single if it's a single family home. If it's a duplex, you type in duplex or triplex or quadruplex, okay, because this is the standard contract of sale for single up to 4 unit properties. So you would type that in there. You wouldn't type something like townhome on there. I see people do that a lot. You can, or condo. No, it would be single. It's a single family residential dwelling. All right, tenancies, hopefully not applicable. If it is applicable, you would check that off and make sure you get a copy of the leases and all that fun stuff. Section 13, lead-based paint. If the property is built before 1978, it needs to be checked off. If it was built sooner than 1978, then it's not applicable. And then you can check that in bright by looking right here, year built 2002. Okay, so this is not applicable for this deal, but for most houses in South Jersey, this is going to be applicable, which means you need a standard addendum for lead paint, which is also in with all these files, and there's a video for it. Poet should be not applicable. Cesspool should be not applicable, and then make sure you check this one off as well for no cesspool. Inspection paragraph. Nothing needs to be changed here. Nothing needs to be changed here. Unless you negotiated a different timeline for inspection, by default, inspection timeline is 14 calendar days after the expiration of attorney review. So if you negotiated a shorter inspection period, you want to throw the number 7 in all of these blanks here. All right, all this is left alone. Come down here, we're talking about commission now. So you want to put your information here. So you put our office name here, then you put your name here. Okay, and then you're operating as, check one of these off, and then only if another broker is involved. If the other agency is KW Cherry Hill, KW Morristown, you don't fill this out because it's dual agency. So you would put both of them here. I personally would write KW Morristown plus Cherry Hill here, and then both agents' names here, and then you can leave this stuff here blank because we're just technically one firm. But if it's 2 firms, you put the other broker name here. Okay, the brokerage name goes here. And you check off seller's agent or buyer's agent, whatever they are. All right, so then listing firm, you can fill all of this out regardless of whether it's dual agency, just so they have everybody's contact info for the agents. So KW Morristown would be the listing agent, or put the listing agent's info there. And then the broker license is on your license. It is 0568297, and then make sure you put your name and your license on here. Don't leave it blank. Put the license numbers on here. Lenders oftentimes are going to come at you the day before settlement sometimes to do that, and it's not something you want the deal to be held up over. So just put your accurate info on here, put the other agent's information on here. So right here it says commission due for a listing firm. You can leave that blank because it says per the listing agreement, so there doesn't need to be anything there. You can put the commission there, you don't need to. And then the other brokerage name goes here. So let's say that you're the buyer and you fill this out, you would have put the listing firm's information on here, and you would have put their license number on there and the other agent's license number. How do you get that information? Well, it's in bright most of the time. So if you pull up the listing, if you have the buyer, you could find the listing agent's name right here. Their license number is right there. If it says unknown, you reach out to the agent, you get their license number, and then the brokerage, same thing. Their license number should be right here. If it's not, you reach out to the agent and you get it for the contract. So you want to put all that information in here. The buyer's agent commission is what goes here, and you're going to need to make sure it matches whatever's in the MLS. So for this one, you would do 2.5% minus 150. That's what's going to the buyer's brokerage, so 2.5% minus 150. Okay, keep going down, check off if the seller is an agent, you want to check that off, yes or no. Buyer or seller, if they're licensed, that needs to be disclosed. Self-explanatory. Section 42 is very important. Read every single one of these items. If it applies, you need to check it off. The second that you check off an item on here, that means that there is a corresponding standard NJAR addendum. So if you checked off coronavirus, you need to make sure that you have a coronavirus addendum. And that's in with NJAR with all the other contract docs. Same thing here for lead-based paint, which is going to be probably the most common. FHA. Seller concession is incredibly important. If there is a seller concession, if you notice, there's nowhere for that on this contract. So you'd have to check that off and go into the then make sure that you get the seller concession addendum. And then under section 43 here, when I get a contract from another agent, I skip right to here because this is where agents write crap, whatever they want to write. Inspections waived, as is, blah, blah, blah. All that bad jargon that we use as agents gets written here. So you want to write that stuff in here if you need to, or if there should be something in here, you want to make sure that it is, like an appraisal gap, an inspection thing, you know, whatever else is being negotiated that's additional outside of the normal contract language goes on there. And if you don't have enough room, you can always use a blank contract addendum / amendment, which we have in DocuSign that our office has prepared. It's in there. You can type anything on that as well. That's what you're going to use later on in the transaction. And there's a video for that as well. So 15 minutes, kind of a quick overview. Hope this helped. And if you have any questions, let us know.